Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, this is At the Helm Sports. I'm your host, Derek Helm. Thank you for joining me for episode 173. Please be sure to follow and subscribe on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Leave those 5-star reviews if you're watching on YouTube. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. Down in the comments section, very simple this week. Let me know, is Scotty going to three-peat at the Players? Because that's what we're diving into this week. And had to bring him back. Last year, we went through the Players and we were close to getting a winner, but bring him back. We got host of the Fantasy Golf Degenerates, host of Back Nine Bets, the Model Maniac, Byron Lindeque. How we doing, Byron?
Derek, I'm doing very, very good. Thank you very much. Yeah, we almost had a winner, almost had two of them, but, one came up a little short and the other one was short. So we won't be going back to Brian Harmon this week, but we tried our best, and Scotty Scheffler absolutely boxed us out as always.
Yep. So quickly, we can go through the API. I do want to focus on the Players here, but I mean, good for Henley. The fact that he was able to finally pull that out, obviously, after letting everybody down the week before, including yourself, it's just, is Colin Morikawa turning into Russell Henley? Because it kind of seems like they're the same guy right now.
Well, yeah, I just think people aren't trying to be like I think he is Colin Morikawa now, which is one of the less savage golfers there ever was that came out of college. He was just ferocious, right? I mean, he won the PGA and then the Open with just no uncertainty in any department. And now it's just disgusting trying to watch him try and close things out. He's just lost every clutch gene in his body and whatever, like that's so be it. And I'm not sure when that'll ever come back to him.
Yeah, I mean, it just looked like he was just trying not to lose it rather than trying to win it. It was weird. It was weird to see. And then obviously Henley needed the eagle to really close it out because he didn't even play that incredible himself on Sunday.
No, he didn't. And, I posted that thing about Colin gaining like 2.5 strokes in round 1, 1.5-ish in rounds 2 and 3. And then he's been pretty much like level pegging when it comes to neutral in strokes, almost losing strokes in round 4. And he lost half a stroke last Sunday. And, just looking back at it, like that 16th hole, the par 5, he led the field in strokes gained, like accuracy off the tee. Hit in the bunker when he absolutely needed to take care of business, put himself in prime position to make a birdie there. That was a 2-shot swing quite easily that Colin allowed. Like he can't stop Henley from chipping in for eagle, but he can absolutely make birdie. And the putter just went absolutely ice. It's the putter that's really doing the damage for him on those Sundays. He's just didn't even come close. Like a lot of putts just missing the hole by a couple inches. The 18th hole, what a disgusting putt that was to try and force Henley to go full Henley, but Colin went full Colin and it didn't work out. So a battle of the losers, and Henley came out top.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if that gives Henley some confidence going forward and maybe getting that one under his belt. Maybe, he's been playing incredible golf. Maybe he can win another tournament or two this year. I mean, I don't know if it's going to be this week or a major, but we could see him maybe in another crappy field take one of these down.
66-1 at the US Open, which is a golf course that demands accuracy off the tee, some good touch around the greens. And he's been solid in the majors a little bit. So I fancy that number a little bit.
Yeah, I could see it. And then the betting woes continue. I got lucky last week. I had Wyndham first round leader, so it was a profitable week, but obviously had the outright on him. He absolutely fell apart. And then because I was already profitable on the week, I figured why not light some money on fire? I live bet Tony Finau before Sunday's round. That worked out really well. And then also on Saturday, I live bet Straka 80-1, and he had the top 4 each way. And I had bet him last week as well, top 10. He finished 11th. And then this week had the top 4 each way. He decided to, I don't know what that chip was on 17, and then ended up coming in 5th place instead of getting the top 4 each way. So that was swell.
Brutal, dude. But he's playing some good golf right now. So I think Straka's probably someone we might end up chatting about later on.
Absolutely. I could not agree more. But if we dive into this week, we are here to discuss the players. So first we can go through the course a little bit and then dive into the field. But I mean, obviously, has the moniker the 5th major, maybe not major-esque, but it definitely does feel like it's elevated a little bit now, maybe lost its luster a little bit now that we have so many signature events. But I think it's nice that we get everybody in a tournament and it's actually close to a full field with a cut, because we don't get that with the elevated events anymore. So that is nice about it.
Yeah, and it's like just from a DFS perspective, we got that 5K range, which
Yeah.
there's some really good names in the 5K range considering, so like it's a good field and it's going to be exciting on a great golf course that provides high entertainment value with some wind showing up at some point this weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously the field is one of the best. The payouts pretty good. So we have the best guys here. Obviously last year Scotty won by a stroke over Xander, Wyndham, and Harmon. We had the Wyndham outright, and the ball basically went in the hole, and then it somehow didn't. But Scotty shot 20 under. It was pretty impressive because he was dealing with that neck injury as well. Obviously, was in discomfort. I think it was on Friday or Saturday there. So Scotty ran away with it last year. And then basically 2023, we had the same thing, shot 69 or better in every round. He won 17 under. And then 2022 was that crazy year with the inclement weather where Cam Smith finished on Friday of the following week, basically. So
Yeah.
kind of throw out that year a little bit. But that's what we're looking at the last 3 years. Is there anything that sticks out that maybe you would focus on over the last couple years or no?
I think we've just seen like really recognizable names take it down. Like no one that has any sort of lack of pedigree has done anything here of substance. So the big boys show up at the big events, although it is super volatile. There's enough of them in this field to kind of one of them take care of business by the end of the week.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. So we have 144 golfers in the field. Top 65 and ties will make the cut. We're playing at the stadium course, TPC Sawgrass, 7,352 yard par 72. About 100 yards were added from last year, so a little bit longer here on some of the holes. Listed as Tiff Eagle Bermuda, but we obviously have the POA overseed, similar to what we see at the Waste Management. So I wouldn't worry too much about putting splits or grass surfaces. There's 92 bunkers and basically water on every single hole. So, I mean, there could be some carnage here. You definitely want accuracy over driving. 4 par 3s, 4 par 5s, 10 par 4s. Three of the par 5s are reachable into by most of the field, 37% higher birdie rate or higher there with those 3 par 5s. And then you have the 600 plus yard ninth hole, which probably only reachable by the bombers. And it's still the fifth easiest hole. So you got to do your damage here on the par 5s. The par 3s vary in yardage, two of them 175 to 200. The eighth hole is 237 yards, plays as the third hardest hole on the course, 25% bogey rate. So definitely want to tread water on some of these par 3s here. And then obviously we have the island green on 17, 137 yards. That can make or break around. We've seen that plenty of times. And really the final three holes here can make or break around. So definitely want to keep an eye on that. Obviously 18th being the most difficult hole on the course, 462 yard par 4, 24 acres of water. There's sand everywhere. So as I said, accuracy over distance. Anything to add there so far on just what we're looking at this course?
I think the overall summation there is you have to have every part of your game in tune. Like you're going to be chipping, you're going to be putting, you're going to be hitting a variation of iron shots, and you got to keep your ball in play off the tee. Otherwise, you're going to be in trouble.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Now, because of the accuracy over distance here, we do see guys club down quite a bit, hit fairways at about a 62% clip, which is a little bit below tour average. Then driving distance is definitely below tour average because of that, 278 yards. The greens are a little bit on the smaller side, multi-tiered, definitely going to run fast. So greens and regulation percentage coming in at 63%. And then a lot of approach shots from a wide varying of ranges here, the most of which 22% from over 200 yards, but then we have 19% from 175 to 200, 19% from 150 to 175. You'll see guys hitting wedge shots. So as you said, it's not just one area of your game. You're going to need a lot. And if you're not hitting greens here, some of these holes, the water's right there off the green. Some of these holes, the sand is right there. So you're going to need sand saves. You're going to have to chip. I mean, we've seen guys just putt off of the edge of the green here, so it's definitely a test that you're going to need your whole game. I mean, is there anyone specifically skill set wise that you're looking at for this week, or just guys in good form, really?
Yeah, it's you're gonna have to do something super elite if you don't have a certain area covered. And there's not a lot of goal. I mean, we've got 144 guys in the field. They don't all have perfect skill sets, you know. So I think you're gonna have to really pick your battles along the lines there and just see where it goes. But looking for guys that do some things really, really well, and hopefully nothing very badly. Because if you're doing something very badly here, things could still not work out in your favor because that's going to be emphasized at some point. So making sure you can get through the cut as well, because this golf course, just trying to find safe plays if you can that have some ups. It's everything, Derek. It's like you just got to figure it all out this week.
Yeah, we could definitely see some carnage here. I mean, and any given hole, you can absolutely just implode here. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's. I think I'm definitely going to be looking at guys that have recent form here. I don't think this is a place where you want to come and figure it out if you've been struggling in any area of your game. So, but
And
if
by
we
recent form here, you mean like entering the week.
yes, yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Coming into this week in 2025 over the last several tournaments. I mean, you can look a little bit at course history. I do think that plays a part, obviously, but I do think that an emphasis on how guys have been playing leading up to this tournament matters way more. So if we dive into bets before we kind of go into DraftKings, I've made a couple on Saturday. I said I made the live bet on Straka. I bet him at 60-1 to win this as well. I also took a top 20 on him as kind of a placeholder, was trying to figure out whether I wanted to go top 5 or top 10 on him. And I mean, that number has plummeted since, so I'm probably just going to stay with the top 20. Then I bet Wyndham last week, and as I said, got the first round leader, and he kind of fell apart over the weekend. But I'm going back to him here, 66-1. I got the top 7 each way on him, and then I got Aaron Rye at 100-1, and I bet the top 20 on him as well. So that's what I got so far. Definitely have some room probably for some guys at the top. Just want to figure out what I want to do there. What are you looking at so far?
If you have FanDuel available, I'm not sure if the 200-1 on a Joel Damon is still out there, but I figured that was just worth a sprinkle at 200-1. You don't have to go too crazy to get your fingers in the pie. He's ultra accurate, great ball striker, iron play, all that jazz. He's played nicely last year, played nicely in 2019. So he's got some good form coming in. I have a Nick Taylor at 125-1 with 5 places each way as well. He's the 6th best iron player in the field this week. Nick Taylor, like the guy that we always thought relies on the putter, is the 6th best iron player in the field, and that's over a decent chunk of time. And then I have a Justin Rose, 120-1 outright. I have a Justin Rose, whatever you can get, top 20, top 10, top 5. Let's go. We're laddering it all the way. I just fancy his chances this week. He played really nicely at API. He did some solid work down at Pebble Beach, which is a golf course that he's played well at. A similar kind of a positional short course with lots of water, lots of hazards, reliance on short game. And Justin Rose has played this golf course since 2003. If you go take a look at his metrics in Data Golf, he might even have played before that, because I think that's when Data Golf stops. But
Yeah.
it's like Rose has been around, and he's finished inside the top 10 religiously around here. And I know we mentioned we're looking for big names. He's a big name. Like he's not someone, if you saw Justin Rose as a champion of the players, it wouldn't be surprising, over his course of his career. And he's playing some good golf. He hit his irons really well last week and hit a lot of fairways, which I'm excited about. The putter's looking good. I'm in on Rosie this week, so to say the least.
Yeah, I don't hate that. When we get to the DraftKings portion, I was going to bring him up. I definitely think he's a good DraftKings play. I don't think he's going to be that popular either. So I do like that. I like the Nick Taylor call. I might even hop on that one. And Joel Damon's been playing. He's been playing good golf lately. And as you said, he's played well here before. So why not? And those are all good numbers as well. So
yes, on the shorter front of things, I'm probably hanging tight on an Hideki. I'm looking at him. I mean, he's 33-1 out there. I mean, course history isn't super predictive here, but Hideki's played very good at this golf course for a long
yes, he
time
has.
too. Like I'm not worried about bad course history. I think guys that have played badly can play well, but I don't mind guys that have played well here quite often. And Hideki's one of these dudes, and we know no one saw him winning the Century, no one saw him winning the Genesis. No, I mean maybe we saw him winning the FedEx, but he just shows up when he feels like it. And I feel like at a golf course like this, he could have a breakout given his current long-term form. The short-term form is pretty crappy right now, but waiting a little closer till the weather kind of establishes itself this week on the
Yeah,
bigger
that
bets.
that that's basically what I'm looking at. I'm actually looking at Hideki as well. I have a 30% boost I can use. Probably looking at using that possibly on him. I mean, you said it. He's played well here. 9 appearances. He's only missed the cut twice. Otherwise, his worst finish was 23rd, and that was back in 2014, the first time he played it. So he's definitely played here well. He's come top 10 4 times, six last year, fifth in 2023. So do like that. And as you said, this year, obviously came out of the gates hot, won, and then kind of cooled off. And it's actually the driver that's been bothering him lately, but looked a little bit better, was hitting some fairways last week and kind of gained off the tee. So hopefully he got that together. Obviously, he can get hot with the irons and is incredible around the greens. So I mean, we could see him chipping in, if he's in the sand, you don't really worry too much about that. So I do like Hideki quite a bit, and I'm definitely considering making an outright on him here as well.
Cool. Let's go.
So if we dive into DraftKings, obviously, as we touched on at the top, we do have the 5K range this week. Now, one of the issues of pricing coming out early is I do think there's some guys that are down there that maybe are a little bit too cheap. And I do think that they could have made the 6K range a little bit bigger, because the other thing I would say is Scotty should be over 13,000 with this 5K range, because I just over the couple builds that I've done so far, I think it's very easy to get to Scotty. So I could still see him being uber chalk, despite the fact that, we haven't seen his best stuff lately. But even without his best stuff, he's still up there. What, 15th place is the worst he's going to come. So what do you do with Scotty this week? Do you think there's any chance he goes for the three-peat, or do you think we've seen enough chinks in the armor that maybe you can get away with fading him?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because I want to see the ownership. If it goes crazy, I think I might be out. He's got his B game right now, maybe C plus game. If the A game was going to show up, it was going to happen at Bay Hill. And he's just got these inconsistencies. He used to be one of the most consistent, like reliable ball strikers. He's making some really boneheaded decisions with the wedges. Like, I bet him top 5 after round 2, and I'm obviously very tilted over him right now because he just didn't do anything. Like he was just making dumbass mistakes. He lost like 5.5 strokes on the greens. He's not playing the greatest right now. So I'm okay leaving him alone. I think I might be leaning into Rory a bit more because I think people are sour on him after last week, after he changed his driver and his woods the week of Arnold Palmer Invitational, where that's like paramount to success. And he lost off the tee for the first time since the FedEx St. Jude and the second time since the Players. Like Rory's like automatic off the tee, and he had his second worst off the tee performance in the last year because he changed clubs. So he's back, normal stuff again. Let's see what he can get up to. He's $1,300 cheaper than Scotty.
Yeah, definitely. Now, worry about his putting a little bit too. I think his confidence is shaken a little bit, but if either one of those two get the putter going early, I mean, they could absolutely destroy this course, I think. And it's a little worrisome to get away from them, but I do think you can make a case for it. I don't love Xander, but I think this current state of Xander, nobody's going to play him. So you
Yeah.
could get Xander at a very, very low ownership here. And it wasn't like he struck the ball horribly last week. It was a lot of the short game, which obviously that could take some time to come back, and you're going to need that short game around here. But it could click. I mean, he played better over the weekend. So I think you can make a case to go to Xander. I'm not crazy about it, but just if Rory and Scotty do get up there in ownership, it's definitely worth a look.
Absolutely. I think everyone's going to be all in on Colin as well at 10-5. So he's going to be squeezed in a big way. And the ball striking, like you said, was there. And he just basically chipped himself out of it. It wasn't even really the putter that was that big of a deal. It was just the chipping. So at a golf course like this, maybe he can continue to hit few more greens and maybe he just figured it out. Just first time back, got his feels back a bit, and off we go. So I don't know. I'm definitely not betting him. I think DFS is the way to go about Xander this week,
Absolutely.
where the variation and the leverage is there. The books are just going to eat you up on the Xander, although his prices are quite nice. He's like 30-1 out there for Xander Schauffele. He's double the price of his major odds. So, but there's more reliable better options down below too.
Yeah, I agree. It would be DFS or nothing for me. Now, kind of leaning the other way with Morikawa, I I kind of want to bet him. I don't know if I want to do the outright, maybe a top 10, top 5, and then just fade him in DraftKings because you said it. I do think that if people aren't starting with a Scotty or a Rory, they are definitely going to be starting with Morikawa here. He's just been playing great golf. This is a course that should suit his game, and if he's striking his irons and he has the around the green game now, it basically comes down to the putter. And obviously we said it at the top. Maybe he's not going to come out here and win this, but I still think that he could come top 5. So I don't know. I don't know what I want to do with Morikawa yet. I'm probably going to determine what the ownership is before I make any decisions there. But how are you feeling about him this week?
I think I'm just going to land up betting him like top 20 minus 150. Just lay it,
That's not bad.
make my unit back. That's like a third of my investment that I put like 3 units into my DFS world. So I've like edged a third of that out there. If he finishes top 20 and it's like an 18th place, I'll take it. If you want, you can go the top 5 route as well. He's pretty, profitable in that market as well. I just don't trust him. Like as a first click, if you're clicking a name, it should be a bona fide winner. Like we just saw this guy lose to Russell Henley. Like granted, Russell Henley just lost to Joe Highsmith. So like maybe he handed the baton to Colin now, and whoever is going to go up against Colin is going to lose in epic fashion and win the following week. So, I mean, we've had Thomas Dietrich and Russell Henley win in the same 4-week span. Anything's possible this week. Like the PGA Tour is drunk. We don't know what's happening. Colin Morikawa could win this thing by a landslide. Granted, I prefer Ludwig.
Yeah, that's basically where I'm sitting. I'd probably rather play Ludwig. Obviously, had a nice showing last year. Didn't play well at Bay Hill, but hasn't really played well there yet in his career. So I'm fine with it. Looked a little bit better on Sunday. So I do have some interest in him, maybe even potentially an outright. And then Justin Thomas too. I've bet him a couple times this year, just thinking that there's some flashes there. And obviously it's just so odd with him. There's holes where he'll just look great for 4 straight holes, and then all of a sudden it's like, what the hell was that? And it just destroys a round for him. But if he could figure it out, I don't mind him. Obviously, you worry about the putter a little bit, but I do like Thomas here. Obviously, it's a place that he's performed well in the past, and I do think that he makes a lot of sense. So I'd probably go Ludwig and Thomas over Morikawa. And then Cantlay hasn't really performed well here. Had a top 20 in 2023, but I think at his price, and even if you wanted to take a chance on the outright on him, I mean, seeing him at 35-1, I think that's a possibility. But obviously, we already talked up Hideki, so there's a lot of decisions to make up here up top.
And, like JT's got good strokes gained around this golf course because he's made a lot of cuts. He missed his first cut in forever last year. But he, in the last couple of years, he's only got the win. And that was after making the cut on the number. He went full Joe Highsmith that year. And outside of that, his best finish is a 33rd. So like I think I'm like he's gonna be making the weekend most likely, but he's just maybe we pull the trigger on him when he's like down the leaderboard. I think he's an absolute live bet option as always.
Yes.
I think if he's down a couple strokes heading into a blustery Sunday, he could absolutely go post a number from way behind. That's how he's won the Players last year. That's how he won the PGA Championship. That's what Justin Thomas does. So I think you absolutely want to look at that avenue. Patrick Cantlay is a complete loser. I can't do him anymore. After starting off so hot like he did in round 1 and then just completely just melting away, just lifeless performances, I'm out. So I've got my couple guys in the top here, and then I love this 9K range.
Yeah, I'll probably decide. I don't think I'm going to go both Scotty and Rory. And then definitely going to play Ludwig. Definitely going to play Matsuyama. Fleetwood definitely makes some sense here. He's been playing well. Obviously, I think he has the game. Hasn't been incredible at Sawgrass over the past several years, but fifth place back in 2019. Where are you at with Tommy?
I think you're gonna just have to, if you want to play the DFS game of embracing variance. Tommy Fleetwood was going to be the most owned option this week, potentially at $9,800. And if he misses the cut, you're only playing up against like 3/4 of the contest, So that's the DFS world that we live in. Is he the absolute smash play on paper right now? Yes. Is he hitting his irons as well as Colin Morikawa right now? Yes. He cannot putt, and it's been like that the whole freaking year. Is that going to change this week? Potentially, maybe not. I mean, you're still dealing with a guy that's incapable of making anything on the greens. Tommy's been striking it incredibly, and he's only got that fifth place finish at the Genesis, which was like backdoory anyway. Tommy he's never been in contention this week or this year at all. So at that ownership, he's going to be easy to fade for me. Him and Michael Kim. If you just leave those two guys out of lineups, you can play any lineup in the world. So
Yeah.
I think that's where I'll be going. I'll play Hideki instead of him. I'll play a little bit of Sungjae. Seems like he's figured out some of his stuff. He's not played great golf lately, but I'll take a T19 at the API. Maybe he's figured his stuff out a little bit.
Yeah, I could see that. I don't want to play Berger, and I don't think anybody will because at 9,600, it just seems like such a misprice. But similar to what I said with Xander, I don't think anybody's going to click him into their lineups, and he's been playing good golf lately. So if this is a place where he's played well before, and obviously, I had the second at the Waste Management, 12th at Genesis, 25th at the Honda, 15th last week. He's playing good golf. So I might play a little bit of Berger in some larger field stuff and just, with, like you said, Tommy's going to garner a ton of ownership. Hideki up there, Henley right below him. I just don't see anybody getting to him. I could see him being 5% owned here.
Yeah, I know. And it's like they priced him right after the Waste Management Phoenix Open and forgot to change the price based off anything else that he's done. But even those finishes afterwards were 12th, 15th, 25th, not terrible. So the 25th at the Cognizant could have been a freaking win. Like he just didn't nut up on Sunday. I mean, we've got spineless professionals playing this game that we love so much right now with like zero ability to just be a savage on a Sunday. We need someone to just show these boys what's up. And Scotty used to be that guy. Now no one's doing it. Wyndham Clark used to be that dude as well. Went from first to last in like no time last week. So it's interesting, but I don't mind Wyndham. Some solid performances lately. He lost 1,000,000 strokes putting on Friday after blitzing the field on Thursday. So I'm back on him. I don't mind him at 94. Daniel Berger, absolutely ridiculous price, but I'm in. I'll nibble on a bit of him there.
Yeah, and you can go back to Henley. I do think he's going to garner quite a bit of ownership there, though. I could see people with this 5K range starting Colin, Tommy, and Henley, and then dipping down a little bit. That could be a very popular start. So just keep an eye on that. But as of right now, I do think Henley's going to be in my player pool. He's been playing far too well to completely overlook him. Shane Lowry is he's been playing very well also. But if he gets a ton of ownership here, I'm fine fading him. I've been doing it a little bit here recently. I've played him a little bit, but I mean, you're not really concerned that he's going to just outright win this thing. Now, at this price, he doesn't necessarily have to, but I don't think I'm going to get there on Lowry this week. Might be a good spot to go back to Mav. He's played good golf, obviously. Last week wasn't great after a lot of people relied on him, but had a 9th place here at Sawgrass last year. So I don't mind Mav McNeely. Spieth showing signs of life, I think is another guy that you could maybe make a case for at 8,800. I definitely can't get there on Hovland with his current state of his game. Zalatoris could make some sense, but probably not there. And then obviously Sepp, definitely going to be in the player pool, but probably another guy that's really popular. So, what does this top of the 8K range look for you?
I'm going to be playing a lot of lineups this week, so I will be playing Victor. I just think the part of his game that's missing is the one that could easily show up out of nowhere. Like the putter. He's been a very good putter over his career, and it's just completely left him. So he's obviously been neglecting that, trying to find the magic swing that's now showing up again. Top 10 in the field ball striking, outside the top 100 in short game. So I'll take a gamble on him. He's played well here in the past. You can putt from off the greens here, blah, blah, blah. I'll take him at 9K. You throw Daniel Berger and Victor Hovland in your lineup, you can play anyone else.
Literally anyone.
Then anyone, you can go Tommy Fleetwood, Michael Kim. But Mav is not terrible either. I think he's a very good option this week. Spieth, I've always said, you ride the Spieth roller coaster when it's you and maybe your wife. You throw up on each other, that's it. Like, you don't ride the Spieth roller coaster when everybody's riding it. You don't want all of that ownership vomit all over you, especially if you're sitting in the back of the roller coaster there. Even the front, you're going loop-de-loop with Jordan Spieth. You never know where that thing's taking you anyway. So ownership dependent. I always just play him if he's low owned. I don't if he's high owned. I think that's worked out well for me. It's never fun to watch a high owned Spieth play good golf, but ultimately it ends in disaster, it seems. So I think if you faded enough guys up top, Sepp's a great option at $8,600. I think Benny Arn's not too shabby. I know I'm jumping all the way down to $8,000 yeah, but he's someone that I definitely think's found a bit of a groove that if you're trying to get early on him, he's one of those guys after a nice performance at API.
Yeah, I don't mind that. I do think Siwoo is interesting. Obviously, I do think he garners some ownership at only 8,200. He's probably one of the more popular in this lower 8K range, upper 7K range. Have a little bit of interest in Jason Day, and I don't know why. It's just he's been obviously good at the players in the past, but had some good finishes recently, despite not really striking the ball incredible. I mean, he is gaining with the irons in most weeks, but it just I don't know. I don't know what it is about him. I do have a feeling about Day this week, and I think I might play him in a good amount of my lineups.
I mean, he had the best opportunity to take down those three losers in front of him, and he
Yeah.
turned it out into one of them. Like, he was the worst of the bunch, like he had Corey Connors, Russell Henley, Colin Morikawa. Corey Connors made one birdie all day, no bogeys though. Turned out to beat Colin that day. And, Henley chipped, he had a one chip in that pretty much won him the tournament. So,
Yeah.
he never sees that opportunity and he's just mediocre, like he just never seems like he's ever going to win. But at this price tag as well, like he's your third guy in this price range. This is got the 5K range there. You can easily potentially even have him as your fourth if you go with like a nice solid balanced build and just rattle off a bunch of 9K guys early.
Yep. Yeah, so I'm gonna be in on Day. You mentioned Corey Connors. Just he's been playing well. Has some good finishes here in the past. 13th last year. He had a seventh place a couple years ago. I think maybe 2022 or 2021 there. So I like
Yeah.
I like Corey Connors. I do think that you can make a case for him. Not really in love with a lot of the 7K range. I'm willing to go back to Keegan. He's been playing pretty good golf. Hasn't been good here the past couple years. Missed the cut, but has some good finishes in the past. Brian Harmon, we a place where we want accuracy. It's a place where I do think that he could play well. Obviously, he had the second place last year, so you do like that. But I'm not really expecting him to come out and win, and obviously, you don't really need that at his current price tag. So, well, what are you thinking here in the 7K range?
That's just the thing. Like you reading off these names that we used to pricing in like the 8s and 9s to some degree, and you're thinking, okay, can this guy win? But he's like $7,600, Brian Harmon, with a third, an eighth, and a second around a golf course that's pretty difficult to be consistent around, and the results entering the year, like starting the year, haven't been great, but man, he's been hitting the irons well. Like around the Cognizant, he was just dismantling that golf course on approach. And I just kept peppering him after showdown, and the putter just never showed up. So maybe he ventures to a golf course that he's had some success at and the putter revitalizes itself. I'll definitely be in the mood to play some Brian Harman for sure. He's interesting. I like Keegan Bradley a lot. I like those two missed cuts the last 2 years. Great momentum entering the week. I'm in on him. And I'll take a little bit of Adam Scott. He's all over the place. Maybe he's a little lower owned. Maybe he shows up inside the top 10 there. But, like we're starting to get to the place now where you're plucking warts off of guys as you pick them. But even though they are some big names. What do you think of Alex Noren? First tournament back. He's got some really good course history. Fits the course quite nicely too. But he's, Alex torn hamstring. What does he get up to this week?
That concerns me a lot. I think if this was his third tournament back and we saw him for a couple weeks, I mean, obviously from a DraftKings standpoint, we made the case for Xander, and getting in on these guys early obviously makes sense from a game theory standpoint. But I don't know if I can get there. Now the difference is the price for Noren compared to a Xander is obviously there's a pretty big difference there. So you could definitely take a risk and take a chance on him. I do think that he could perform well if he's healthy, but I just think it's a little bit too risky. I mean, tearing your hamstring and your quad coming back and swinging a golf club. Now, granted, that was earlier in the year, so maybe he is 100% back, or maybe he's just coming back trying to get through the cut and get paid because he hasn't been playing. I don't know. Where do you stand with him?
Do you think he tore his hamstring on his practice swing maneuver, or do you think he tore it like on his actual swing? Because that practice swing is like highly aggressive over the top. Like
yeah, right.
Get your body into a very constricting position there. So
yeah,
random thought. But I'm going to be playing a lot. I might be just doing 150 lineups this week. So I might just throw him in 5%. If he's a 1% guy, you 5xing the field. If he's 2%, you double. That's what you need. Like it's a freaking weird tournament. I'm down to sprinkle him in. If I'm playing single entries, 3 maxes, that's all you're doing. Yeah. I think there's other options that you can find with some better track record entering the week.
Yeah, lately I've been trying to play a little bit less, like 5 entries, more single entry, 3 entry. But this week I'm definitely going to be playing more than that. I'll probably enter into, I don't know if I'm going to do 150, but at least a 20 max. And then I'll probably play some 3 entry and single entry stuff. So I'll probably be somewhere around 30 lineups. So I'm not going to go crazy, but it definitely, if you're making 150, I definitely think playing guys like Noren definitely makes a ton of sense. And like you said, it doesn't take a lot to get overweight the field at all. So that definitely makes sense. Fitzpatrick is actually a name I've heard a couple times this week, and I get he's played well here before, but I don't know where his game's at, and I don't think I can get there. Same with Sahith. It's obviously he played well here last year, top 10, but I played him last week. I bet him last week, and I can't get into this current iteration of Theegala and where his game is at either.
Yeah, miss them both for me. Fitz was like all putter. That was literally what he was doing last week. Negative in tee, approach, around the green, and just gaining with the putter and finished 22nd. Like literally doing all the work with the putter.
Yeah, you brought up Nick Taylor. I do like that. I might tail you on the outright there. So do like him at 7,300. I already bet Rye 7,100. I'll definitely be playing him. Bezadenhout, I do think that you can make a case for him at 7,100. He's been playing good golf leading up to this and has back-to-back 13th place finishes at the Players over the last 2 years. So I don't play a lot of CBEZ, but I think it makes a ton of sense this week.
Yeah, I fancy Bezzy a lot. Might get a little steam. I mean, the guy played quite nicely at the API, top 20 there. So he's showing some really solid form in 2025. I really hope at some point he shows a bit of that dominance that he had on the Sunshine Euro Tour at some point, because he was a prolific winner when he was on those tours. So Now he's just making dollars and just chilling in the top 20, top 40 area, not really looking at flirting with the top of the board all that much. But it's okay. Maybe he gets it done around a golf course that he's quite comfortable on. Akshay Bhatia. Let's chat about him a touch here because I think he could be a sneaky pivot option down here. Missed cut last time he played the Players, missed cut at the API, but then we got a ninth and ninth at the Genesis Invitational Mexico Open. Smaller golf course, he hits, it's not the biggest bomber out there, tends to play well on these positional venues a little more. I like him at 7K. I mean, this guy could easily pop into the top 10 if he shows up with some magic. And again, he's $7,000. You're going to be clicking him fourth in your lineup. So he's got potential to really boom. I'm interested to see what he gets up to.
Yeah, it does not take much for me to get in on Akshay. I love the guy. Obviously, last week wasn't great, but you said it, back-to-back ninth place finishes. He gained with his irons prior to last week. He's been gaining a ton with the putter, so I'm in on Akshay. I think that's fine. This 6K range for me, you're gonna have to talk me into somebody here because as of right now, Justin Rose is basically the only guy I'm looking at. I think
Okay.
there's way too many guys in the 5K range that just could be priced up here that I'd rather go to.
Sure. How about some Lucas Glover? Terrible course history, multiple miscuts. The best finish in the last 5 years is a 48th. But a third place at Pebble. And if you think about what's needed here, it's just positional golf. He's not a very good long iron player. I know you mentioned 22% of shots coming from 200 plus. That's not where he excels. But where he does excel is the other 80% of the time, like inside 200. So he's very, very good when it comes to that. $6,800. Balled out at Pebble. I like Pebble as like a signature event to kind of find a bit of a comp going into this week. Very not ideal green comparisons, but solid ball striking comp. Given the
Yeah,
fact
yeah,
that you got all these
you
mid
got to club
irons and
down, you
things,
got to
and
be accurate.
yeah, so like that a lot. Max McGreevy, fourth at the Cognizant, 25th at the Mexico, 40th made the cut at the API. He's not an API guy. First appearance at the API, so accurate off the tee, playing some really solid golf right now. I'm in. Brian Campbell, he won at Mexico and, played nicely at the Cognizant, blew up on round 4, was playing some good golf. The hangover finally caught up with him, but I don't think the way he plays golf, I don't think he drinks anyway. So probably didn't even have a hangover. But I think this is a perfect course fit for him. The way he kind of just plots it around, not the longest guy in the world. That's okay. This golf course is totally fine with that. Tom Hoagie, he's one of the few dudes that, if you look in his last 5 years, doesn't have miscut at this golf course. And the worst one is last year he finished 54th. The year before that he broke the course record. So he's absolutely worth a dart at $6,100. And if he can just string 4 rounds together, then we're looking Gucci because he has not done anything well consistently. He was playing very well around API until the final round, and then he just blew up. So hopefully he can get it together here. And then Mackenzie Hughes finally showed up a little bit at the API. I'm excited for him. He started off really poorly. He is one of these dudes that could easily find himself inside the top 10. He was doing it a lot last year. So $6,100 Mackenzie Hughes. And then Austin Eckroat. I'm cool with this dude as well. Got zero reasoning why he's going to play well. I just know at some point, if you just roster him in your lineup, he could have a top 10 for you any given day, any given week, any given golf course. No one knows when Austin Eckroat's going to play good golf, himself included.
This is
He
true.
just shows up randomly. So if you just have him as like a method play every week at his price, ownership, I'm cool. He's got that high upside capabilities, and 15th at the TOC, 13th at the Farmers or Pebble, sorry. He shows up, like miscuts everywhere else. So you're going to have a miscut equity, but it's all good. We $6,100 dude.
Yeah, I don't mind the Glover call. I do think that actually makes some sense there. The Pebble comp. I don't know if I can get there with Hoagie. He just has not been playing well at all. Now, granted, I mean he can potentially turn it around. It's just the guy has not been able to find it at all. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to get there on him. The Ekro call, not bad, because you said it. I mean, in any given week, you look up and you're like, oh, Ekro is in 8th place. That's interesting. Where the hell did that come from? So
Yeah.
I don't hate that one. Yeah. Yeah. So it would probably be Glover, Rose, and Ekro will probably be my 6K range. Ricky has been playing okay golf lately. I mean, if he's not going to garner a bunch of ownership, maybe I might consider him. Just he's been playing better golf leading up to this, and that's a maybe. I'm not going to sit here and make a huge case for Ricky.
Well, look, the thing is, like, he's $6,600. If you just change
Yeah.
his name to Max McGreevy, his
Yep.
profile is fine. You know, like the fact that it's Ricky Fowler, I think we're having an issue. But he's $6,600. He was almost going to win the Cognizant until he turned his spine into a slug as well. You know, like he has got zero backbone on a Sunday. Don't know how he won the Rocket, but yeah, we are $6,600. Ricky Fowler, who's priced with Max Homer. What the hell's happened there? And we've got these two superstars in the 6K range.
Oh,
Same price as Brian Campbell.
yeah. Homa's a sad one. I mean, I won a ton of money on Max Homa. I've been on almost every single one of his wins, and just to see him just crater like this, it's crazy how you can just
Yeah.
fall off a cliff in golf like this.
But he's
If
on
we
tour
move,
until like 2028, by the way. You know, he's won so many
oh
times on the
yeah,
tour
yep,
that he's just exempt for so long.
yeah, and I mean we see swings where guys just absolutely collapse and they come back. So I mean we saw it. We just brought up Ricky. You know, obviously we saw it with
Yep.
Spieth. So he, I think
JT.
eventually he'll yeah, absolutely. So I think eventually he'll be back. I just this is not the week I'm gonna take a chance on it. That's for sure.
Yeah,
If
I'm
we
down.
dive into the 5K range, as we said, Michael Kim is going to be uber chalk. The pricing came out early, and he should probably be at least $1,000 more expensive. So, as you said, I mean, if you want to fade him, you're going to be. I'd say most people that start with Scotty are probably going to go right to Michael Kim, and that's going to be their first 2 clicks, and then they're going to figure out the rest of their lineup. Would be my guess.
Yeah, Scotty, Michael Kim. Oh, Tommy Fleetwood. That helps. Boom. You know, like then all of a sudden you and a bunch of other donkeys just going at it 3v3. So
Yep.
I think just on principle, maybe I'll toss him in a couple lineups just to have him in there, but they'll be like ultra aggressive ones. I won't be going probably like 10% of him, maybe. You know, I'm not going to try and match the field or anything, just have him in there in case he pops, but I'll sacrifice those 10 quite happily because then I've got a quote. What do you think he's going to push? Like 20% ownership at freaking
Yeah, I think
$5,900?
so. I think so.
He's
It's
just
just
playing so well.
exactly, and you put him at sub 6. You know, we don't get the 5K range every single week, so it makes it that much more enticing. The fact that he's under 6K, it's even if he was 6,300. I don't think it makes him low owned, but it probably lowers the ownership a little. The fact that you can play guys in the 5K range here and match them with Scotty. And it just so
Yeah.
happens this guy has been playing some of the best golf of anyone in the field, let alone in the 5K range. He's definitely going to be up there.
Yeah. I'm like looking at Matupa Vaughn, who's $6,000 ahead of him. What were these guys doing? Like even before the pricing came out, this was an obvious play that Michael Kim had to be more than Matthew Pavon. But hey,
Yeah.
here we are. You know, like so be it. Um, from just like a talent perspective, Nico Echeverria is someone that second at the Sony and it kind of broke him a little bit. But I think if I'm playing 150, I don't mind him in there. A couple, 5% here. I think I'm cool with that. Bud Collie seems like a guy that I'd be willing to play in these kind of. He's a cut maker. Essentially, he's got a ridiculous cut make. Like his top 40 rate is like 61%, and he just doesn't finish inside the top 20 ever. Like he's just either top 40 or that's it. Like he just doesn't ever have upside. But if you're looking to just get a guy through and the other 5 guys taking care of business, Collie's not a terrible option. Gim, Andrew Novak, right here in the 57, 56 range. Gim going to be a little chalky, I'd imagine, you know, given the solid pedigree around TPC Sawgrass, solid finish at the Cognizant. Iron play is just going off the charts. People love that about him. Andrew Novak, though, he's also method play. You play him all the time. He's going to give you miscuts, but he's going to give you a 13th at the Genesis, 13th at Pebble, 3rd at the Farmers, miscut at the Cog, miscut at the Waste Management. Like you're going to get it all, but you know exactly what you're getting. It's just two different servings. So whichever one he shows up with this week, I'm down for Andrew Novak as well.
Yeah, I like Novak quite a bit here. I think it's a good price for him, and he can be volatile, and around this place, maybe that's not the best, but generally gains off the tee, and he can scramble. So even if he can't get there with the irons, I do think that goes a long way at TPC Sawgrass. So I do like Novak there. Might play some Nikolai Højgaard. I don't really know that this is a course that suits him too well, but I just down in this range, I think he's far more talented than a lot of these guys. So maybe on that alone. And
Nikolai's a
then
very good wedge player, man.
Yeah. Yeah. It's as long as he's not going in the drink off the tee, I think he could play well here.
Yeah.
Have some interest in Victor Perez as well. This is a guy that I think he's only playing the Players maybe once or twice, but I'm pretty sure he had a top 10 finish the last time he played it. 18th place last time out at the Cognizant. So I think Vic Perez is definitely in play here. And then Patrick Rodgers has been playing very good golf, hasn't played well at TPC Sawgrass. So it's a matter of which one do you trust more. But I don't know. The recent form, it's worth at least consideration. And then, yeah, I agree. I'm definitely playing Doug Gim here. And then last click in, probably Smalley for me. I think at 5,400, that is just a great price for a guy that's been playing good golf. Another guy that can scramble. He's great out of the sand. So those are things that you definitely want here. And then obviously his past several times out, he's been playing very well. 16th at Sony, 11th at the Amex, missed the cut at the Farmers, but then 21st at Waste Management, 10th in Mexico, 18th at the Cognizant. So been playing really good golf and very cheap price for him.
Yeah, he's a really interesting option, and you're not worrying about him closing out a golf tournament. He's $5,400. Like the ball striking is incredible for him. I don't mind that whatsoever. And if you were to weigh one, if you could only pick one stat for this week, if it was course history or recent form, which would you put?
I'm going to say recent form.
Exactly. That's the way to go, yeah. So Patrick Rodgers, those 4 miscuts in a 65th, that's going to leave you with like a 1% owned Patrick Rodgers, who's got 4 consecutive top 25s and basically could have won the Genesis Invitational if he had a backbone. But, we are not worrying about that at $5,600. So I'm down. Now, give me some much better recent form than course history at this price in particular. That's what are you going to be doing? Not going 30% Patrick Rodgers. You're throwing him in like one lineup of your 10, maybe kind of thing.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. And,
Cool.
and like you said, with the course history, that I'd say that's probably more of like a tiebreaker this week is if you have two guys that are in good recent form and one of them just has happened to play much better here, then, maybe go to that guy.
Yeah, totally agree. How about some Sam Ryder? He's pretty solid at $5,400. And then either side of your Isaiah Likely. Isaiah Likely. Is that the tight end for the Ravens?
Yeah.
Isaiah Cylinder at
I was going
$5,400.
to say, he started playing golf.
Yeah. I would love to see Likely play some. I mean, that guy's got massive feet. He would just like anchor down. But $5,400 Isaiah Cylinder is where we're going over there.
Well.
Yeah, he's a ball striker, man. Like his biggest issue is missing like 3-footers when he's on camera on the weekend. But $5,400, I'm totally down for him. He's got actually one of the best points gained per DK price in my model. So that's very, very nice to see. Let's take a look even further down here. I mean, Joel Damon, absolutely going to be playing him for sure.
Yeah.
5,100. What the freaking hell is that price tag on a guy that's got a 9th and a 6th in his last 4 starts, and then he's got 4 made cuts around here, including a 12th and 11th. Like, yeah, let's go. Like, I'll be loading up on Joel quite a lot. I'll take some Chad Ramey as well at $5,200. He's one of these short positional guys. He can absolutely putt like lights out every now and then. And then give me some Chris Ventura. I know he's a long course kind of guy. The ball striking is just so good. I'll take a gamble on him at $5,100. Not going to go crazy on him. And I think that's going to be it for me. Brendan Todd is someone that has just completely. He's like easily the worst golfer on the PGA Tour right now.
Yeah,
What
it's
has happened?
I played him a little bit in the beginning of the year, and I just quickly got away from that. I don't know.
I don't know. Is he even? I don't think he's even in the field. Actually, I plugged in a bunch of names over here, so he might not even be
Yeah,
in. But
no, I don't think he
um,
is.
but he's here. Oh, David Lipsky. Did I mention David Lipsky? One of the best
No.
iron players in this field, by the way. David Lipsky over the last little while. He's $5,100. Now, is he one of the worst putters in the field? Yes. But I took a gamble him at the Cognizant and he missed the cut, but he was flirting with making it. Which is all I could hope for a guy that if you go into a ball striker's paradise, this is what you're going to get. So I'll take a little David Lipsky love as well, 5,100.
Yeah, I don't mind it. I've played him a couple times over the past several weeks here, and maybe Andrew Putnam. I mean, a guy that
Mm-hmm.
can strike the ball well, has some okay finishes coming in. It's another guy to consider there, but yeah, that's probably going to do it for me.
Yeah, we got deep into the weeds there for a while.
Oh yeah, it's nice having the 5K range. I don't think it gets old if you're doing it every week. I think it makes more sense for the bigger tournaments and maybe the majors, but I would like to see. I think they do it potentially because there's more casuals coming in, so it's a little bit easier to build. But I'd like to see Scotty up over 13, and you have to actually make a choice with it.
Correct. They just never want to do that. Like
Nah.
they just reduce the floor instead of increase the ceiling. It's kind of weird.
Yeah. But that's going to do it for this one. I mean, we obviously exhausted the field. We went deep there, but
You have
to
everybody here.
recap the bets I got so far, I have Straka at 60. I have Wyndham Clark 66 to 1 with top 7 each way. And then Aaron Rye at 100. Probably looking to add potentially Decky, maybe Ludwig, have some boosts I can play with. So looking at probably 2 guys up towards the top of the board there too as well. And what did you say you had so far? So far they were
And
a
Nick
little bit
Taylor.
longer, right?
Said you're going to
Yep.
be tailing Nick Taylor with me at
Yep.
125. And I've got I mean, if you're going to pick one of the two, I'll say let's go with Justin Rose instead. It's like less of a chalk play, sneaky option. He's my boy this week, Justin Rose. And then we going with Joel Damon, 200 to 1. And I will be eyeing out Deki Matsuyama. Rose is the ladder bet all the way through top 5, top 20, top 10. And I'll also be playing Doug Gim, top 40 at plus 120. I forgot to mention that. And I'll also be playing Ludwig top 10 plus 170.
Okay. Yeah, so I Rose, I don't know if I'm going to get there on the outright, but I'm definitely playing him in DraftKings. I do love that. Might take a top 20, top 10 on him. I think
Yeah,
that makes some sense.
just get a little Justin Rose in your life. That's all I'm asking.
A little bit. And then obviously, before we get out of here, we can talk about our franchise saving quarterback that we just got with Justin Fields.
Brother in Christ, what are we doing? We just bought a $40 million mediocrity. Like, what is he going to do? He's not going to be a franchise altering guy. What is your, like, yeah,
No.
you go ahead. I'm going to lose my shit, Joe, if I keep going. Sorry.
I think it's just a not even necessarily a bridge. I think honestly, Tyrod might even be the starter at the beginning of the season. But we've seen flashes of Fields that he could be a top 20 quarterback, maybe. Now the problem is I think that they should embrace a full rebuild, and I think that might actually be part of it. It is just maybe they draft someone, maybe they just load up on defensive line this year, and just he's the quarterback for the next 2 years because they know they're going to suck anyway. So I don't know. I don't know.
I think we should just run like 100% wildcat. Like have Brees
Yeah.
have the ball in his hand like half the time, handing it off to Justin Fields. Like go full crazy. Just go like pretend you're Rex Ryan. But I guess the you know what is our offensive coordinator? I didn't even know, dude. I've given up on this team so hard.
Oh yeah, I
Like,
literally just the only reason I brought it up is because I literally just saw that earlier today, and it's a disaster. Obviously, I have the banner behind me, I have the helmet next to me, but it's just getting harder and harder every single year. It's we did our Jets preview and we were like, yeah, 11 wins. That went out the fucking window in 3 weeks.
dude, but we prefaced it with,
Oh yeah,
this is an ideal world. This could happen. It's
yeah.
not likely, like that's going to just be the situation. And I was watching the Jets take on the Broncos in Montreal with Tim Anderson. And that's where the season took an absolute. That was Robert Saleh's last game, was it?
That's insane. Oh, that's great.
Me and Tim
So
got together and we our coach got fired
there you
because
go. There you
this
go.
is the world we're in. So, yeah, I
Yeah,
don't know what
there
to
you
tell
go.
you about this team. I've just given up. I'm just an NFL fan. I'll play a bunch of baseball. I'll watch watch the Red Zone if that's even a thing anymore. The NFL is just breaking my heart on so many levels right now, Derek. So I've just decided to just take a break from this team.
Well, I remember telling you when we did the Jet season preview that the whole entire reason why I sit in front of the camera and I do well in fantasy and betting is because I've been a Jet fan my entire life and they have sucked. So it's been like, well, I got to figure something
Yes.
else to do and might as well play fantasy, might as well bet on games.
Yeah. And if you want to know how long I've been in the country for, it's as long as the Jets have not been in the playoffs. And that's been I've been a Jets fan since day one of being in the country. So like, I just cannot do this anymore. So if they go ahead and make the playoffs this year, you all guys are welcome. I will not be supporting them. I'm just taking a full on sabbatical. Might join in once we get to the playoffs, but
Maybe we can
we'll
get
see.
Tim to do the same.
Please. You'd never.
All right,
You would never.
but that's going to do it for this week. Thank you, Byron, for joining. Always a pleasure. But that's going to do it for me. As always, check out thehelmsports.com. I will have everything up in the My Bets tab on Wednesday night. If you want the bets that I make the second I make them, head to themadlabmma.com. As soon as I make a bet, goes right up into the Discord there. So check that out. And thehelmsports.com, I have my preview up for the players up there. Basically break down the entire course, the recent history, key stats, golfers to consider, all that fun stuff. But that's going to do it for this week. As always, thank you for listening. I'm your host, Derek Helm. And remember,
Just have fun out there.